Bola was born in a small Lagos village, where her parents had high hopes for her future. From birth, the world around her was shrouded in darkness. Her blindness, a curse, would have broken most children but not Bola. From the moment she could comprehend the world, she realized that though her eyes saw nothing, her mind and senses worked in ways that defied logic. She could see the world through sound, smell, and an innate sense of space. It was as if her body had been tuned to a higher frequency, allowing her to navigate a world that others took for granted. Her parents, however, didn't understand this gift. They saw only a child born with limitations. Despite her talents, the world around her mocked her. Children in the neighborhood would laugh, call her names, and treat her as if she were nothing more than a burden. But Bola was determined. She didn't let their cruelty define her. As she grew older, her ambition bloomed. She was determined to be more than the girl who couldn't see. She wanted to be the most beautiful girl in Lagos, and nothing at all, was going to stop her. But how would she, a blind girl, compete in a world so obsessed with appearance? Bola's school years were a mix of torment and triumph. In a world that prided itself on beauty, she was constantly reminded of the superficial standards she could never meet, at least not in the conventional sense. Her friends spoke of beauty contests and their dreams of becoming models, but Bola could only listen in silence, her heart aching with the knowledge that her blindness would forever bar her from such dreams. Yet there was something inside her that refused to let go. Despite being blind, she still had a deep understanding of beauty, not the surface-level beauty of appearances, but the beauty of a soul, of strength, and of the will to overcome. By the time Bola reached her teenage years, she had become an academic prodigy, topping her class every year. She had learned to navigate life without her sight, developing an extraordinary sense of intuition. Her inner beauty was something everyone noticed, but it was the passion and determination in her heart that left a lasting impact. With every academic achievement, her classmates began to see her differently. Slowly but surely, they began to understand that beauty was not just skin deep. Yet Bola still wanted more. She would take part in the Most Beautiful Girl in Lagos pageant, a dream that seemed impossible for a blind girl to achieve. Little did she know, her journey was about to take a dramatic turn. The day of the pageant arrived and Lagos was buzzing with excitement. It was the biggest event of the year, drawing contestants from all corners of the city. Bola stood backstage, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't see the glamorous women around her, but she could feel their eyes on her, some curious, others dismissive. She could hear the whispers, the judgment, the doubt. How could a blind girl even think she could win? One contestant sneered. Bola clenched her fists, pushing aside the fear that threatened to rise. She knew they didn't understand, but she didn't need them to. What they saw as a disability, she saw as a gift. As the pageant began, Bola relied on her other senses to guide her through each round. She could hear the judges' voices, their quiet murmurs, the audience's reactions. She sensed every gaze, every shift in the atmosphere. It was as if the world was telling her, this was her moment. But just when she thought she was in control, disaster struck. During the swimsuit round, a contestant, a rival named Nina, deliberately bumped into her, causing her to stumble. The crowd gasped, but Bola quickly regained her balance, refusing to let the moment define her. She had come too far to let anyone take her down. The stakes were higher now, and the drama was just beginning. Behind the glitz and glamour of the pageant, something darker was unfolding. Nina, a former beauty queen, had seen the fire in Bola's eyes and felt threatened by it. She couldn't let a blind girl steal her spotlight, especially not when Bola was starting to turn heads with her intelligence and composure. Nina began spreading rumors backstage, whispering that Bola was only there as a charity case, that she didn't deserve to be in the competition. What's the point of a beauty pageant if someone like her wins? Nina's voice echoed in Bola's mind, poisoning her thoughts. But Bola refused to be affected. As the contest continued, the sabotage escalated. Nina managed to get her hands on Bola's outfit before the final round. When Bola stepped onto the stage, her dress was not what it was supposed to be. It was a cheap imitation torn at the seams. The audience gasped in shock. For a moment, Bola thought about quitting. But then she remembered her purpose. She had come too far to let someone's cruelty destroy her dream. With every step she took, her confidence grew. She had something Nina would never have, the strength to stand tall in the face of adversity. The twist was coming and she was ready for it. The final round of the pageant arrived and Bola was ready. She stepped onto the stage, her broken dress barely holding together, but her confidence shining through like a beacon. The crowd fell silent as she began to speak about her journey, about her dreams, about the beauty she had learned to see within herself. Her voice was steady, filled with emotion. The judges were visibly moved and Bola felt the tension in the air. Could she win? Could the girl who couldn't see win the title of Most Beautiful Girl in Lagos? The moment the judges announced the winner, Bola's heart stopped. And the winner is... The pause was excruciating. And then to her shock they called her name. The crowd erupted in applause, but to Bola, it felt like a dream. She had won despite all the odds, despite the sabotage, despite her blindness. She had proven to the world that beauty was more than skin deep. It was a reflection of the soul. But just as she was about to step forward to claim her crown, a shocking revelation came to light that threatened to turn her victory into a nightmare. The suspense hung in the air like a heavy fog. As Bola stepped forward to claim her crown, the unthinkable happened. The host, a well-known celebrity in Lagos, suddenly paused the celebration and turned to the judges. "We have just been informed of something critical," he said, his voice trembling. Bola froze, her heart sinking into her stomach. Was this some kind of trick? Was this a cruel prank? "It has come to our attention that one of the contestants has violated the rules by receiving outside assistance." The crowd gasped. Bola's mind raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening. Could this be about her? But before she could process the words, the host turned to Nina, who was glaring at her with a triumphant smirk. "Nina," the host continued, "it's been revealed that you've been spreading false rumors about the contestants, including Bola, and that you tampered with her outfit." The crowd erupted in anger, but Nina stood there unfazed. "What can I say?" Nina shrugged. "I was only protecting my title." But her smugness only made the situation worse. Bola's heart raced. She had worked so hard for this and now it was being threatened by petty jealousy. The judges, however, were firm in their decision. Nina was disqualified and Bola was declared the official winner. But the emotional toll of the revelation was far from over. In the days that followed, Bola found herself torn between elation and bitterness. She had won the title, yes, but at what cost? The pageant victory that should have been a celebration had left a bitter aftertaste. Her win was overshadowed by the scandal involving Nina, and the media outlets were more focused on the drama than her achievement. "Blind girl wins beauty pageant. Was it fair?" One headline read. Another asked, "Can a blind girl truly be the most beautiful?" It seemed the victory had not silenced the doubters but fueled their criticism. Even her own friends were unsure how to react. Were they proud of her or were they secretly questioning her worth? Despite the external noise, Bola stayed true to herself. She knew the pageant was only the beginning of her journey. There were greater challenges ahead and this victory was just the start. As she navigated the post-pageant interviews, she realized the world wasn't ready for her message of inner beauty and self-worth. Yet in the quiet moments of reflection she found peace in the knowledge that she had proved to herself, and to the world, that beauty was not bound by physical sight. But the true test of her resilience was about to come. Just when she thought things might calm down, a new, unexpected twist was on the horizon. Months passed since the pageant, and Bola's life began to settle into a new routine. She had become a symbol of hope for people with disabilities, a beacon of inspiration for those who felt they couldn't achieve their dreams. However, the media was relentless in pursuing her story. One day, a reporter approached her with a disturbing question. "Bola," the reporter asked, "how do you feel about the rumors that your success wasn't entirely your own doing? That you were helped by someone from the pageant committee?" Bola's heart skipped a beat. How could this be? She had worked so hard to get to where she was. But the reporter wasn't finished. "There are whispers that your victory was rigged. How do you respond?" The words hit her like a slap in the face. She had worked so hard for her place in the spotlight, and now her achievement was being called into question. The shock of these allegations left her reeling. Who would do this to her? Who would accuse her of cheating when she had given everything? The media frenzy exploded overnight and soon, Bola found herself trapped in a whirlwind of scandal. As the accusations grew louder, she turned to her family and friends for support. But when she needed them most, they seemed to drift away. The only person who remained by her side was her old mentor, Auntie Funk, who had supported her from the very beginning. "Don't let them take your shine, Bola," Auntie Funk urged her. But Bola couldn't shake the feeling that someone close to her, was pulling the strings behind the scenes. Bola's doubts grew as she uncovered more details about the mysterious rumors surrounding her victory. It wasn't long before she realized that the source of the allegations might be someone in her inner circle. She had always trusted Auntie Funk, but now, a whisper of suspicion clouded her judgment. Had Auntie Funk, in her desperation to see Bola succeed, gone too far in helping her? Bola's heart sank as she recalled the moments when Auntie Funk had subtly guided her decisions, pushing her towards certain choices. Had her mentor manipulated her path for her own gain? The thought was almost too much to bear. Unable to contain her emotions any longer, Bola confronted Auntie Funk. "Did you help me win the pageant?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and anger. Auntie Funk's face turned pale. For a moment the older woman said nothing, her gaze shifting nervously. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she admitted, "I did what I thought was best for you, Bola. I saw your potential and I wanted to make sure the world could see it too." Bola's chest tightened as the weight of the truth sank in. Had her victory been tainted by a lie? And more importantly, could she ever trust the people closest to her again? The weight of Auntie Funk's confession threatened to crush Bola. The woman she had trusted, the woman who had guided her, had been part of the very deception that threatened to unravel everything she had worked for. Bola was torn between anger and betrayal. How could Auntie Funk betray her like this? Yet at the same time, Bola could not deny that it had been Auntie Funk's encouragement and support that had helped her get to this point in the first place. Bola was left with an agonizing choice. Confront the world with the truth, risk losing everything, or keep the secret buried and live with the guilt of a victory that might not have been entirely hers. As the public scrutiny intensified, Bola retreated into herself. She withdrew from the media, from her friends, and from the pageant world. Her beauty, once her greatest asset, now felt like a burden. Every mirror she looked into reflected not the girl who had won the title, but the girl who had been deceived. Yet deep within, a new fire began to burn. If she was going to face the consequences of her actions, she would do it on her terms. But the truth, Bola realized, was more complicated than she ever imagined. As the weight of her past actions threatened to consume her, a shocking revelation was about to push her to the brink of everything she had ever known. Bola's world had spiraled into chaos. The accusations, the betrayal, and the mounting pressure were threatening to break her. Just as she was about to give up, an unexpected ally emerged. Emeka, a journalist who had been following her story from the very beginning. Unlike the others, Emeka believed in her and her abilities. He had seen the depth of her struggle, the raw determination in her eyes, and the true beauty that shone through every challenge she faced. "The world needs to see the truth, Bola," Emeka said during a quiet meeting in a cafe. "They've painted you as something you're not. I'm going to help you prove that your victory was hard-earned and well-deserved." Emeka's offer of support was a lifeline. He began digging into the pageant's inner workings, uncovering a web of lies and corruption that had been hidden beneath the glitz and glamour. As he revealed more about the pageant's past, Bola realized that she had been part of something far bigger than just a beauty contest. The pageant, it turned out, had been manipulated by powerful forces seeking to control who could rise to fame. With Emeka's help, Bola saw the possibility of not only reclaiming her crown but exposing the rot at the heart of the industry. But as the investigation deepened, new dangers began to surface, and Bola realized that the fight for her future was only just beginning. Bola's world continued to crumble as Emeka's investigation unearthed shocking secrets. It wasn't just Nina who had been playing dirty. Bola's own victory was tied to a deep conspiracy. The pageant, once a symbol of beauty and achievement, was nothing more than a facade. Behind the scenes, the organizers had been accepting bribes to ensure certain contestants won. Bola's victory had been the result of a mix of corruption, but also a fierce battle within the system that had ultimately allowed her to win, despite the odds. As the revelations spread, Bola's reputation was once again under attack. But she refused to back down. She had worked too hard to get where she was, and she wouldn't let anyone take that away from her. With Emeka by her side, they began to expose the truth, one piece at a time. However, the deeper they dug, the more dangerous it became. Bola found herself in the crosshairs of powerful people who would do anything to keep their secrets buried. Her life was at risk, and yet she couldn't stop. The public, though torn between supporting her and condemning her, now had to decide whether to believe the truth she was fighting to uncover. With the media frenzy at its peak, Bola faced the most terrifying moment of her life. The pageant organizers, furious at the exposure, took drastic measures to silence her once and for all. One evening, as Bola left her apartment, she was confronted by a shadowy figure. It was someone she never expected to see, Auntie Funk. "Bola," Auntie Funk's voice trembled. "I'm so sorry. They told me I had to stop you. They said if I didn't, they'd ruin everything for you. And for me." Bola's heart sank. Her mentor, the woman who had once been her greatest support, was now part of the conspiracy to destroy her. But in that moment, Bola realized something. She wasn't alone. She had fought too hard and come too far to back down now. A wave of determination surged through her. "You may have been part of the lies, Auntie Funk, but I'm done being a pawn. I'm going to finish this no matter the cost," Bola said, her voice unwavering. In that moment, the truth was no longer something she had to prove. It was something she was going to live by. And with that, she walked away from the past, ready to face whatever the future held. Bola's battle against the pageant industry was far from over, but she felt a new strength within her. No longer was she the vulnerable blind girl trying to fit into a world that didn't understand her. She was a fighter, someone who had overcome unimaginable odds. The media storm intensified, but now Bola controlled the narrative. With Emika's help, she began speaking out on national platforms, revealing the corruption she had uncovered. Each interview, each appearance only solidified her message. Beauty was not a commodity to be bought or sold. It was a light that came from within. As she continued to fight for justice, Bola felt an overwhelming sense of peace. She had made mistakes, yes, but she had never given up. She had shown the world that her blindness was not a limitation but a gift. And with every step she took toward redemption, she realized that the only thing that truly mattered was the love and respect she had for herself. The victory she sought wasn't just about the crown, it was about reclaiming her story and her future. In a climactic moment, Bola finally stood before a national audience and told her story. "I am Bola," she began, her voice steady, "and I am not just the girl who won a beauty pageant. I am the girl who was born blind, who defied the odds, and who is still standing." The audience watched in awe as she spoke with unwavering honesty. The truth, once hidden behind layers of lies and deception, was now laid bare. The pageant industry had tried to break her, but it had only made her stronger. Bola had faced the darkest parts of herself and emerged victorious. Her story became a beacon for millions, not just in Nigeria but across the world. People with disabilities, once hidden in the shadows, now had a role model. Someone who had proven that beauty was not just about what others saw. It was about the strength to keep going no matter the obstacles. And as Bola stepped off the stage, her heart swelling with pride, she knew that her journey was far from over. The world had seen her for who she truly was. Not a blind girl, but a woman who had fought for her place in the light. Bola's victory was not just a personal achievement. It became a movement. She used her platform to champion causes for people with disabilities, spreading a message of inclusion and empowerment. Slowly, she began to shift the conversation around beauty and success. People now saw her as a symbol of hope, a woman who had transformed her perceived limitations into her greatest strength. Her efforts caught the attention of international organizations, and she was invited to speak at global conferences about the importance of accessibility and equality for people with disabilities. Through it all, Bola remained grounded. She knew that true beauty wasn't about public recognition, but about the positive change she could bring to the world. Her vision was no longer just about winning titles. It was about creating a legacy that would inspire generations to come. She had started as a blind girl with a dream, and now she was a powerful voice for change. Despite her public success, Bola still faced internal struggles. The haunting memories of her past, the betrayals, the doubts, and the sacrifices, weighed heavily on her. Sometimes, in the quiet moments before she slept, the darkness would return. The loneliness, the fear, the desire to hide away from the world that had once shunned her. But each time she reminded herself of her strength. She had fought for this life, and she wasn't about to let fear take it away. In these moments of solitude, Bola would return to her roots, her deep connection to her inner self. Through meditation and reflection, she found solace. The beauty of the world, the beauty of her soul, was something no one could ever take from her. And though she still faced challenges, she knew that she was capable of overcoming them. She had already survived the worst. Now it was time to thrive. Amid the chaos and success, Bola began to experience something new: love. It started slowly with Emeka, her journalist friend, whose support had been unwavering throughout her journey. As they spent more time together, a bond began to form and the lines between friendship and something more blurred. Bola was hesitant at first. She had been hurt before and the world had judged her based on things she couldn't control. But Emeka showed her a different kind of love, the kind that was patient, kind, and full of understanding. As their relationship blossomed, Bola found herself opening up in ways she never had before. She wasn't just a symbol of strength. She was a woman deserving of love and happiness. And for the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of a future that wasn't defined by her disability but by the love she shared with Emeka and the world. As the years passed, Bola's influence continued to grow. She became a global advocate for disability rights, using her platform to change policies and create opportunities for people with disabilities around the world. Yet as her influence spread, so did the pressures of maintaining her public image. With each success came more expectations. The constant spotlight began to weigh on her, and she was forced to make a difficult decision: continue living in the public eye where every move was scrutinized, or step away and find peace in her personal life. Bola wrestled with this choice for months. She knew that stepping away might mean losing her platform, but it might also mean finding peace. Ultimately, she chose to focus on what mattered most: her own happiness. In a quiet ceremony, she married Emeka, the man who had been by her side through thick and thin. Together they built a life filled with love, purpose, and the quiet fulfillment that comes from knowing you've made a difference. Years later, as Bola stood before a room full of young people with disabilities, sharing her story one last time, she smiled. She had done what she set out to do. Her victory had been about more than just winning a beauty pageant. It had been about breaking barriers, changing perceptions, and proving that beauty and strength could come from the most unexpected places. Her legacy would live on in the hearts of those she had inspired, in the changes she had fought for, and in the love she had found. Bola's journey had been long, difficult, and full of twists, but in the end she had proven that no matter the obstacle, no matter the doubt, the light within her would always shine brightest.